What is going on? Haven't made a video in a long while, which is a lot has happened. A lot has been happening recently, and I'm not gonna lie. Uh, I guess if you would have asked me way back, way back when, um, do you? I guess, I guess the question is, could you have possibly seen, your investments or HEX at where it's at currently? If I go back to 2021. Into 2020 and 2021, I don't think my expectations would have been met based off where we're at currently. And I don't know, it's somewhat good, somewhat bad. Uh, Now there are a few things I didn't expect to happen. I didn't expect that Richard Hart would totally win his case, that he would beat the SEC, um, that PulseChain would have eventually full regulatory clarity with the United States government through the Security and Exchange Commission. I think I really was at a point where I felt or I thought that that could never be a possibility. That would never happen. But it did. We did win the case, and that was great. But I mean, maybe it's the struggle for greatness. Maybe it's the struggle for waiting for greatness and things to unfold, good things to unfold. So we're at a unique place in history, a unique time in history. Um, if I would look at this from a top-down spiritual perspective, I would say that we're we're seeing the effects of entities and beings and things unknown, whatever you want to call it. I call it Satan, called the evil one, that has perpetrated his plan to subdue and to control and enslave mankind. Which is interesting when I think about it, because if you do read the Bible, or if you're biblical and you look at Genesis and it talks about the beginning and the end, or it talks about Adam in the garden, God gave Adam one command: subdue subdue the earth, keep it. He gave him the mandate to name all the animals, and where the mandate for us is to subdue the earth, to take care of it, to keep it, to make it a better place for humans. The devil, or the enemy's goal, is to subdue mankind by enslaving mankind, putting up invisible walls and invisible barriers that keep us from achieving our full potential. Whatever that potential might be. So we think about it, it's the obvious things, right? It's, can you, as an individual right now, without any money, any financial backing, go out and do whatever you want to do? No. And you can, and the only people that do that are homeless people. But even homelessness is being assaulted, because if there is a movement for a cashless society or CBDC, they can't even beg for help anymore. And even in some parts of the United States, they're making it basically impossible to be homeless unless you want to starve to death. So where one could possibly be free, or choose the way that they would like to live and the way they would like to produce or be a part of society, there are invisible walls. We all have to work jobs we hate. We all have to save fiat currency that's being wasted. We all have to kill the creative side in us, effectively, that's there. And that creative side is being killed through fear, coercion, and a threat of livelihood. It's a prison. And it's not just a prison in the United States, it's a prison everywhere in the world. Some prisons are a lot more authoritative and dictative than America, such as your Muslim countries under the caliphate, um, where their ultimate goal is just complete domination, no rights. I mean, and argue against it if you will, but there's no way I could go to Iran, get off the plane, go down to a town square and start preaching about Jesus Christ. I could, but the moment that I start preaching about Jesus Christ and I start preaching Christianity, I would be arrested and thrown into prison. As formerly recently, there were some, we had some members at our church that were in a Muslim country, and they had established churches, and they were told by the government to leave, and they had been there years. So the assault and the perversion of our rights and our freedoms, to me, when I look at PulseChain and where we're at, and when I look at cryptocurrency, is all over hundredfold. You always wonder, where is the personal freedom? Can I go out in the woods and just build my own home, shack, not have to pay taxes? At one point in America, it was like that. People came out west, people went out, settled. They had to work hard, but ultimately they worked hard and they still had their freedom. Some communities have maintained their wealth. So I'm talking about the Amish or Mennonite communities who chose a way of life. And luckily the land that they have, the homes that they have, the things that they've claimed are now hereditary, being passed down generation to generation. But they maintain or establish some resonance of freedom, although maybe not because they have to pay taxes. I don't know if they pay taxes. I'm not sure. But that's just what I'm getting at. There's invisible walls that are keeping us from achieving our full potential. So it brings me full circle. I never would have thought PulseChain would have been free from the SEC in the sense, but in the other sense of things, makes me wonder, even with PulseChain, even if, it taking off, doing very well, making people wealthy or whatever the case may be, wealthy in your own definition or term, would we still be free? I don't know. And I would say no in many terms, many ways. There's a recent act that passed that I don't necessarily agree with. Not many people really know about it. Referred to as the Genius Act. And the Genius Act was perpetrated, in my opinion, by the bankers. Now, don't get me wrong, the Trump administration has come in and they've done a lot of things. They've given us a lot of freedom, but I feel like they're giving us a few carrots, but behind the scenes, the people that run this show are cornering it. And I said in a post here recently, I said, look at JP Morgan, look at Bank of America, look at Wells Fargo, look at Citigroup, look at all these other major banks. They want their own stable coin. Okay, they want their own stable coin, and they're ignoring USDC and USDT and DAI. And these people, in my opinion, are dumb, like Coinbase. And they think that they can work with these individuals, and you can't. They're capitalists. They're extreme capitalists. They want their own controllable stable coin. And I feel it's just a Trojan horse. I feel like good things are happening, but a Trojan horse is being sent under the radar. Bitcoin Summit, of course, is this week, and everybody's saying, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. It's okay, but most people, if you ask them what a Bitcoin's worth, they don't even know that one Bitcoin's worth $108,000. They have no clue the value. They don't really care. Everyone is kind of going off in their own world, and it's like the stage is just being set. It's being set for that aspect of total control. So it's a weird place in PulseChain City. It's a weird place to be. I don't post most often. Sometimes I post to talk. This specifically is really just supposed to vent, I guess. This is more of like a verbal documentary from where I started in cryptocurrency to where I am now. But I will say that being in PulseChain HEX is providing an education that's invaluable. And unfortunately, people are sleeping on maybe one of the biggest things in the world when it comes to cryptocurrency. Now, I'm going to say something that you don't have to agree with, but the more I look at cryptocurrency and in relation to my faith, in the Christian faith, we know there's an antichrist. We know that there's going to be the mark of the beast. And someone say they have a solution for everything. They come in and force you to have that mark to eat, buy, and do whatever. If you really think about cryptocurrency, if that being the case, cryptocurrency is the perfect medium and perfect tool to implement that type of control. So it's like when you look at the Bible, and I look at the Bible and I look at prophecy, you can't negate the fact from a Christian perspective that those things aren't going to happen. It's just a fight of prolonging it in our time frame and space in this world, in the time that we're in. We weren't born in Persia. We weren't born in Rome. We weren't born in the medieval times. We were born at this specific time, this period in time, and so we're living in the time. But ultimately, I will say this: cryptocurrency is probably going to lend to that. So I don't have my faith in, thinking that it's going to be security for my family down the road. I don't want my family to think that. I want them to be prepared to, if I'm blessed to have grandkids or great grandkids, I want them to know, hey, when that happens, don't take the mark. It's going to suck if you're left behind. Granddad, grandpop says, don't take the mark. Till that time, we still can't stop what's happening. Cryptocurrency is moving in a way that it is becoming the new medium that's going to dictate our financial lives for this period in time. And if you're watching this video at this current state in time, 2025, be thankful you're in this period of time, because it is going to get worse. But the writing's on the wall, so to speak. So in game, I know long after I'm gone, however many years, if Christ comes back before then, great. But if it's 100 years, 200 years from now, more than likely, cryptocurrency will probably be that medium with artificial intelligence to implement a mark. We just haven't had a major disruption. And the only major disruption that I think that could happen to spur that many years down the road could be things with quantum computers and the threat to Bitcoin internally through some method to basically crash it, since everybody in every country is adopting it. Now, get me wrong, we need peerless cash, we need something with stable value, but it would make perfect sense to have the entire world be on this token, this electronic money, this medium of exchange, and then just crash it, because everybody's wealth is there. You crash that, and if the U.S. builds their wealth on it, if every country builds their wealth on it, you destroy every country. And then you have a chasm that allows you to offer something to fix it. That's what I see happening. It's just that the infrastructure will be there to implement whatever's going to replace Bitcoin however many years into the future. I know I'm talking a little wild or crazy. It's been 14 minutes. But these are some of the thoughts and things that I think about when I look at cryptocurrency. In the meantime, I'm just looking at the chart on Bitcoin, and the way that it is looking to me, it almost looks like we're getting to a top, or getting close to a top. Everybody's saying $1 million, probably $1 million, but not this cycle. My algorithm here is the Ichimoku trading algorithm, which I put together using artificial tools, and that signal has been long since October of 2023, where Bitcoin was $31,000. Now, did I have money to buy $31,000 of Bitcoin? No. I'm pot invested in the PulseChain ecosystem, but it has been continually. If you want to look at it from, so here's an example. Here's the prior year, 2018. Low came down here in 2019. It went from 19, 20 to 21, 2 years of up, all the way from $3,000 to 64,000. And then we came to a low, $15,000, and now we're at $108,000. So it's getting a little top heavy in my opinion. When I look at HEX, kind of the same old, same old. This is like this little area, in my opinion, from here to here, is the emotional line. Whenever we get to this line, break or cross or play around in here, HEX can get real emotional, especially prices going up. But I'm watching it start to wane, and I'm seeing more new people coming, which I'm glad to see. I did get a signal on long. I don't take these signals as serious because this chart on HEX PulseChain or PulseHEX is fairly new, so it hasn't established itself here. But one thing I do like to do is I like to look at the legacy chart, and I like to take the old PulseChain or PulseHEX chart to give it a little more of a story. And if I look at it from that point, there aren't really any kind of long calls. But if you look at it from this perspective, if we're going to say PulseHEX is it, we moved away and now we have what I wish was called HEX Classic and then PulseChain HEX, we still haven't come off this floor yet. We kind of started all the way back here, the lowest being 0.003. And we didn't quite come to it. We came down to 0.0035. Basically came all the way down from this top of 0.51, and we still haven't come out yet. So I know people get crazy excited about PulseHEX, but when I look at it, it's like we haven't done anything great yet. We haven't. We're just ranging in this massive range of liquidity. And until we break certain levels, we broke 2 cents back in December, and then we just crashed all the way down. But until we break like 5 cents, until this is kind of reading a 5-cent run, that's where I feel like HEX is going to do a little better. Maybe be a better store of value, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But what I'm really starting to see now is kind of a sleeper, and I guess sleeper in the sense of I've said this before, and I've kind of maybe hinted to it. I think PLSX and HEX are probably going to do the strongest. Price performance in PLSX has probably been stronger, even at one time outpacing PLS, although right now that's not the case. But you can clearly see, PLS is 38 and PLSX is like 3.4, or I say 3.468. I'm not counting the zeros, where we went to 4, and in that particular run, PLSX kind of went to 4.43. So I don't know. I mean, PLS went to 4.43. I just think PLSX is going to be a good performer. So what I'm doing in the PulseChain world right now, although it sucks for everybody. I don't think anybody expected us to be where we're at. Nobody did. Is I've just established I've got as much HEX as I could get. I've got as much PLSX as I could get. I don't really care so much for PLS. It's important, but as far as on an investment standpoint, I think that PLSX and HEX are going to outperform PLS in the long run. PLSX has built-in mechanics and it burns money, whether we're high or we're low. Whether we're doing good, whether people are emotionally happy, PLSX does well and it continues to burn. And that's just built-in mechanics to continue to increase that price on PLSX. And then HEX is like your store of value in that coin that is fairly where it would be like gold, so to speak. So I kind of see the two hand in hand. PLS is the gas, and the gas should be reflective of the value in the system. So I think as PLS rises, it's going to rise with that in mind, that as we get more value into PulseChain, PLS will reflect that value, but all of the other tokens will therefore reflect a higher value based off their tokenomics and mechanics, low liquidity, and burn mechanisms, staking mechanisms. Not too much you can do with PLS. And people are forgetting, they don't talk about it a lot, but PLSX, when we did the testnet early, 2021, time frame, did have a function in that DEX to single side stake PLSX. And that is an important function because I believe they were talking about your ability to vote. And that is the reason why I'm trying to get as much PLSX as I can, because in the long run of the future within the PulseChain, if that happens, if he turns on the switch to do a single side stake of PLSX and allow you to vote with that token, I want to have as much as possible, and I want to be a positive influence on a community. In terms of that, I don't think people are thinking like that. Right now, everybody is depressed. We want a pump. We want to return our investment. Completely understandable. But I'm thinking in terms of long term. I want to have as much of that as possible, especially for a layer 2 that is decentralized, does operate on the ideas, spectrums of freedom of speech. For example, SUI had their exploit, and they went in and froze some things. I think they froze money. And when you have a decentralized platform, you don't do that. You shouldn't be able to do that. And PulseChain proved that with PDI. When PDI had an exploit and a guy went in there and started selling, everybody was mad at Richard Hart, but that's the function of decentralized finance. The market bounced back from that event on its own. Nobody had to go in and do anything except those people who had PDI or longtime holders. And it worked itself out because a lot of people were saying, Richard, reset it. Or we basically ask him to do weird, crazy things like, let's do a backdate, let's reset it, let's refork it, like ridiculous requests that would come from someone who's conditioned to be in an exchange or something like SUI, where you have that expectation. But true decentralized finance, if we're thinking of a decentralized world where you do what you want to do, it comes with the good and the bad, unfortunately. But the decentralized components of the market itself absorb the damage. Whether the money leaves, it absorbs the damage. People either learn from the mistake or they don't. And some of them haven't, unfortunately. But that's what makes PulseChain special. There's nobody out coming to save you, or anybody coming to tell you what you can or can't do. And so your morality kind of walks that line. So we have scammers and we have people who are morally adept. I have experienced both. But because of that, it doesn't affect me, because since they see the short-term component of it, I see the long-term component of it, and I see the potential that just as we're ranging, an example, so here's HEX at 0.003942 to 0.0312. Just like we're ranging like this, one day, mass network effect over time, as we're getting new people, we're probably going to be in a range from 0.03 to 0.2. Or we're probably going to be in a range from 0.2 to $2. And people will still be emotionally upset. People will still say what they're going to say. But if you are a long-term holder and you have a massive bag, it doesn't matter what they say, because the longer you hold, the more powerful that you become as the ecosystem gains more traction and growth on incoming finance. Honestly, I don't think people realize that from the outside looking in, when Hex breaks these levels, right? And you see I've mapped out level. I don't know when these levels are going to get hit, but these are hypothesized levels, right? If we're at a point where Hex is ranging from $9 to $2, do you think they're going to care about what happened down here when we were at 003 and 03? They're going to wish they could have bought here. But the same things are still going to be pertinent in psychology. You know, they're going to want to buy at $1. But is it going to matter if you just held your tokens to that point and you got $1 million worth of Hex that you can just stake and just get more T-shares with? Is it going to matter? It's not going to matter what they think. You're still going to have people that are going to want to make a quick buck. You're still going to have people that are going to come in and scam. But on the outside, other investors, large-handed investors, will recognize, key point, will recognize PulseChain, whether they like it or not, when we're trading in dollars and we're not trading in cents. It's just a matter of how long is that going to take. And I've resided to say that, I don't want it to. I don't want this to take 10 years for us to get up to these levels. I will say if we hit like a range of like 20, 50 cents, I don't need $1 to be fine on my end based off my lifestyle, based off what we spend, that I would be set. And I'd actually be at a place where I wouldn't have to sell any PLSX. I would just still have my massive bag of PLSX because PLSX is going to move up with the same market effect. So like, let me show you this. So I know this video is long. Again, I rarely ever post videos. So if you just happen to come across this video, again, I'm doing this for historical purposes for myself and also just to encourage others to kind of see this from a different view. Okay. So I'm just hypothesizing. Let's just say ETH only gets to like 7 grand. I don't think they're going to inject the full amount into this, but just to give you a view of dollars and cents. So let's think about ranges in dollars and cents. Okay. There's going to be sell pressure here. You're not going to just have a $588 hex green all the way up. Okay. Well, just hypothesize. Look at these different prices. And you know how I said that PLSX is probably going to outperform PLS? Look how PLSX performs in proportion to PLS. It's $1.38. PLS is 76 cents. And then HEX is your store value. So if we're ranging, if someone like a big investor, let's say Michael Saylor, who's buying Bitcoin with his company, BlackRock, all these big companies, if they see these dollar signs, these dollar signals, and they see money can be made and that we can be a store of value, I think that's just going to grab the attention of larger investors. Then they will take it a little more serious. They're not interested in us at 0, 0, 0. They're not interested in us. And the only reason I just know that from experience dealing with the stock market and penny stocks. Most penny stocks are cent, less than a cent, just like we're at right now. But they don't garner any attention until they start getting to dollars. And even then, some people just have a threshold. It's got to be worth $10 before I'm interested. Maybe worth 20. So when we start getting to those ranges, those dynamics are going to change. So if you're coming into PulseChain right now, you don't have to put in a lot of money to potentially be somebody in the future who's going to be able to benefit from those particular changes. So let's just say you had, I'm going to do some quick math here. Make sure my math is right. Okay, so let's say you had $200 and you put $200 into HEX right now at the current price that it is. That's going to give you share approximately 25,510 HEX. That's $200 you're neither going to miss. 10 years down the road, or 9 years, or whatever the case, just like Bitcoin had an appreciation. as things start opening up, people start realizing regulatory clarity is important. Wow, this chain completely beat the SEC. There's no fine lines there. That 25,000, hypothetically, let's say it is worth $588 per share. That's $15 million. You won't get that kind of a gain long term buying, BTC at 108,000. You might have BTC at 161,000, but that compared to your $200 buy on BTC is only going to be a couple $1,000s for a person. So someone like myself and many others who really believe in this, other than those that are value extracting and trying to be basically scamming, just to give you an idea, a million HEX at $588 is roughly $588 million. If I'm sitting with a, if I have an unrealized gain of $588 million on paper, that's so much that I can't get out completely without wrecking myself for liquidity, but I could get out a few $1,000,000 for myself or for business. But that puts me at a standard to where, again, go back here. I'll bring this up. I'll go back to, so it puts me at a standard again to where if we are way up there, we're talking way up here, if we're way up here, I don't care if price is moving up and down and liquidity, because I know at any one point I could probably get $1 million out, 2 million, 5, 10, if I wanted to, and not destroy the price. And if more of us, or you taking the time to watch this video, if you're a person of morality and you have morals, a strong moral code, you're going to see the value. You're going to want to leave the value in that system, because the same thing happens with Bitcoin. Like the Winklevoss twins are insanely wealthy. They don't need to sell all of their Bitcoin. They don't even have to. They can get loans against it now, and they don't even have to pay back the loan as per se, because the bank knows they're billionaires and they're going to make money off their fees and intermittent transactions. It's just it's the little people like us currently that the banks are trying to subdue, and it all ties back to that aspect of control. So that's just how I'm looking at this now. I mean, my views have completely changed. You go back, look at my old videos where I talked about SHIB and other coins I was in. They're just being in PulseChain. Put in a couple $100 into PulseChain will teach you a lot about decentralized finance. And what clicked for me on understanding HEX, understanding the T-shares, and understanding this, that I'm showing you the potential that we have, makes all of the intermittent pain that I am experiencing worth it. I'm not going to say how much, but I am a veteran, and I did get benefits from the government for my time in service with the Corps, and I put a lot of that capital that I got in lump sum into PulseChain, and that capital is down significantly. I put bonuses, I've made personal sacrifices with that in mind, knowing that in the future, just the idea or the propensity for PulseChain to do well, the risk I guess the reward highly outweighs the risk that I am taking. And for anyone watching this video now at the current prices that we are, as I literally showed you, if what happens if in Pampy 300 million comes in from other people's money, not Richard Hart, other people's money, other massive investors who start seeing us taking us seriously, who start seeing what HEX actually is and seeing what it actually represents. If other people's money influxes into our ecosystem, it will not take a lot of money for you to experience or see massive growth if you have that long-term mindset. $200 for me is a dinner with my family because I have children. And I easily spend $100 on a dinner. So if I was to tell you that $100 could possibly be worth $5 million, it's a no-brainer. So to that effect, as I'm going to close out this video because I've been rambling on for 35 minutes, don't feel that you have to be a millionaire or you have to be some VC investor to get involved in HEX. You can do it now, and you can put it enough into it where you could just walk away and it not affect your day. You just invest it, look at it like an additional add-on to your 401k, your Roth IRA, whatever investments you have. Let that ship sell, and then just let it be. Walk away and let it be. And know that there are thousands of other people like me, if you want to call us OGs, that have a moral compass and aptitude that if I'm sitting on 500 million, 100 million, I'm not trying to get it all out. That's insane, because now my value is here. If I have that much value in PulseChain, I'm going to the bank to show them my value, and then I'm going to extract value from them. I'm not going to extract it from my community. I don't want to destroy my community. I don't want to destroy this ship that has been built and that preserves free speech in the intern time. Now, Christ's return, things change, mark of the beast, yada yada yada. God willing, I am not here for that. I won't, that at that point, none of this matters. And I'm saying that, I just say this as a strong disclosure. I'm a Christian, a follower of Christ, and that's a big proponent. And honestly, none of the money, none of this stuff matters. I told my son when we were out camping, I said, he was looking around and he's like, are these people homeless? And we have a camping community, and some people are out at the campsite and they're living there. And I said, son, we're all homeless. And what I meant by that is that, you watching this video, it is a 100% fact that you're going to die. I am going to die. We don't know when we're going to die. We don't know where we're going to die. We don't know how. We have an idea. If you're young in your 20s, you don't really think about it. I'm not afraid of death in that aspect. I know I'm going to die. Therefore, I'm homeless. I'm not dying and taking $100 million with me to heaven. I'm not going to die and take my house or I like to smoke my pipes or my games with me to heaven. I'm not going to die and take my kids and my family with me to heaven. I'm going to go on my own, stand before the throne of God, and hopefully Christ will say, good job, well done, good and faithful servant. So for you watching this, if you aren't, if you don't believe in Christ, hey, that's fine. I was at a certain point in my life where I used to say horrible things to God and cuss out and yell and everything else like that. But I'm not in this without that thought in mind, without that realization in mind. The dollars are going to be big, but you're still going to have family problems. You're still going to have a cousin or a brother who's somebody who's an addict. You're still going to get in arguments with your wife. You're still going to fight. You might even have personal problems yourself watching this. We all do. We're all still going to have those problems and those issues. They're not going anywhere. It's the fact of what are you going to do with what you have, with the time that you have? Are you going to use it for good, or are you going to use it for bad? And you really have to seriously consider that, because really all money really does is it just highlights your personality. If you're a really happy, giving, loving person, you get $100 million, you're going to be even more happy, giving, and loving. If you're a shrewd, evil jerk that wants to show off, you get $100 million, you're going to be 100 times a shrewd, evil jerk. I want to be a person of faith in Christ, where I want to do good things for people, to where if that happens, I get 100 million, I'm going to be that person to the 110th of that, because honestly, living that way is a lot more freeing anyway. It just, and it grounds you. Like, I literally, I mean, I guess not everybody reaches it, but you could have all the money and all the capability in the world, buy all the things that you like, do all the things that you want to do, and still be empty. There's billionaires out there who have empty lives, unfulfilled, because they thought money was going to fill that gap and make everything better. And it doesn't. It just highlights who you are right now. So really kind of getting spiritual here, consider that thought. If you're not even going to consider Christ, as the Lord and Savior, as he, I believe he came and died for all mankind, that his love is so big that he died for all of us, that nobody will perish on the eternity side of things. When you die and you can't take this money or whatever with you. But even if you're not going to consider that, at least take time to consider where you are now. Because the biggest thing I've learned being in PulseChain and being in DeFi is that you as a person, your spiritual component, that's very important. It's going to dictate the compass at which you live your life as your value increases. And the enemy knows that. And I don't know. I have this feeling it would pain me to see people in the PulseChain community make it, like all of us make it, and those that some of them make it, but then not have that figured out, and then watch them fall flat on their face and get mocked and destroyed on social media and Twitter and the news or whatever, because they never took the time to do that personal accounting of what really matters, the things that really matter. And that's why the fight is so hard against cryptocurrency, because the enemy knows if more good people get more good capital, they're going to do more good things. And Richard Hart, he said he wants to make 1 million millionaires. When you say something like that and you get ready to fight and become a patriot, when you put yourself out there like he has, you become a target. And when you become a target, the enemy does that because he knows behind the lines, the enemy knows, yeah, if Haiku gets this money, he's going to do good things with it. You watching this video, you're going to get that money. You're going to do a ton of good things with it. The enemy knows, hands down, what's going to happen, what's coming. And so those forces are at work to destroy that. And you've seen, I mean, if you've been with PulseChain since the beginning, you cannot deny that those forces are there. That, Richard Hart had that case put against him. Everybody called him a scammer. And then on top of the scam notice aspect of that, Interpol still called him up, put that notice out on him. And not even Richard Hart. You got Roger K. Ver. They call him Bitcoin Jesus. He got attacked for writing a book that basically highlighted the flaws in Bitcoin. And, you got Tommy Robinson, all these people across the world. Tommy Robinson goes out and exposes the censorship in the UK. He gets put in prison for 7 months. And then, he's finally freed. And then you have the Andrew and the Tate brothers trying to show, hey, masculinity is a good thing. And those guys are being attacked and threatened with more charges recently. If I go back in my replies, yeah, they got hit today with 21 counts of the same thing they got hit with years ago when they got put under house arrest, and then they got put in prison or jail. I'm not sure if it was prison or jail, one of the two. Regardless, you see these people, and these people are acting on the components of the inalienable human rights, because those human rights are in us, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Catholic, whoever you are, in you is an innate understanding of personal freedom, unless you sell your soul and you want all the money in the world, and you're willing to do whatever it is to attack people. Fortunately, some people are selling their souls and getting on that bandwagon, and they don't grasp the fact that I said that you're watching this video where I said we're all homeless. All we can do while we're here is make this place better for those that are coming after us. You really, if you're not going to accept Christ, if you're not going to, go that route, even as an individual, all you can do that's going to last is make the world better than you left it. That's the only thing you can do. That's it. There's not much, whether you have kids, you raise them right, whether you start a foundation, that's the only thing that you can do. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to die. Just how it is. So the spirit of free speech is upon the world. And it's crying out because it's a spiritual fight against darkness. I realize, dude, I'm almost done, I swear. But I feel like a Jedi. Like we're in the Rebel Alliance and we're fighting against the Empire. you know. So that being said, that's my only video for today. I really hope it encourages you. I hope that if you don't find PulseChain, I'm pretty sure there are other projects out there. The only thing I would say against those other projects is that PulseChain has full regulatory clarity, meaning that a federal judge has cleared it and said that it is no longer a scam, and given us that win. We won. It wasn't a case that was dismissed. It was a case that was won in court. Everyone else, including XRP, had their cases dropped by the SEC, and the only reason that would happen is so that the big capitalist boys, JP Morgan, BlackRock, could come back and attack their competition. They don't see us as a threat yet. And the good thing is when they do see us as a threat, we already have the regulatory clarity to protect us. So I know there's other good projects out there, but the one good thing about PulseChain, if you're worried about the decentralized factors of it and what we represent, is that regulatory clarity. And we have it. So do with it what you will. God bless you. Anybody watching this video, I really just wish peace in your lives, that you guys all have better lives, a better quality of your life. I want a better quality for myself, for my kids. Not talking about money. I'm just talking about general better quality of life. Peace at the end of the day, whether the price is up or down, whether the investment is good or bad, just peace at the end of the day, that the next day is going to be fine. That you don't have to live, I guess you can still live free in the chains. You can still live free in the chains, if your mindset is set to positive, and then you look at the bigger things at play, the things that count. Spend time with your kids. Go out, touch grass. Go out, visit. I went on a cruise. It was awesome. I got to see a lot of cool, and I've been a lot of different places, being in the military. But I said a little while. You got to touch. Whether you got to touch grass, you got to touch sand. Do it. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we're all homeless, man. We're all homeless. We can only make the world better than how we left it. So I'm out. God bless you. And might post another one of these, I guess. Bye.